Hey guys, my name is Billy Roberts. I'm a concept artist and art director. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the importance of a graphic read in your concept work or illustration work. And if anyone's interested in joining a Discord and an art community, there'll be a link in the description. With that, let's get started with the video. So, as usual, I do start this image with a line sketch. I did not capture all of the process of drawing out the character because today's topic is going to be around the graphic read primarily. So we skip ahead so we can start to actually talk about this, so I don't have to speed it up too much. You guys can actually see a little bit more of my process. And just in case someone asks, yes, this is inspired by Valorant. And the reason why I'm going after their stylistic approach is because it's very graphic, but there's also a master artist that they are using as a reference, which is Linedecker. So it's not really don't touch the style. It's more of a comes from a master, so definitely touch the style and play with it because you will learn some stuff. So basically, as you guys can see, I have a line drawing. I go into a stage of just blocking in some value block shapes, and yes, they can be quite rudimentary, but really the main thing, if I were to leave you guys with anything today, it's to make sure that you have a clear separation of your values. You don't necessarily want to have black on black or light on light. You can have that, it's absolutely fine, but again, I'm going for like a main character design here, where it's probably going to be played in, like, let's say a first person game, not necessarily a third person game, so those things matter as well. And with that being a first person, I'm able to go in and do this a little bit more, let's say, just overall intricacy with the breakup. Simplicity is oftentimes more appealing. So we have to try to strike that balance with our value break, where we get a decent amount of simplicity and rest, but we also are able to punch in some interest in specific areas. And in this case, I'm using a purple color ultimately to drive the final interest, and then I'm grounding the rest of the outfit in a more muted value lower in the range. As an art director in the past, the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I would oftentimes be asking the artists to do graphic passes, very similar to what you're seeing in front of you right now. And the reason being is because we can really assess and deviate the design quite quickly, and we can deviate the breakup quite quickly as well. And as a first read on a design, this is possibly the best thing for you as the artist to assess whether or not you need to make changes. But it's also excellent for just general art direction, because we're able to really see the shape in the silhouette, but we're also able to see the shape of each element of the design very clearly. Which brings me into the importance of this process when it comes to concept art. And oftentimes I think there is an element of satisfaction behind the simplicity or the rudimentary of the shapes. Now remember, this is very graphic. It's almost like logo design. Because I'm pulling from that line decker Valorant style, the main lessons that I'm trying to pull from, but also I've art directed projects in the past with a very similar style, maybe not so graphic, but we're starting to move in that direction with this. So the main thing is just having each of these silhouettes hold a tasteful graphic shape, and within the shape itself, you can go in and you can render all of the details that you need to render, as long as if you're maintaining that graphic shape overall. You end up with this very this sort of really nice mixture between simplicity and complexity. And I feel like that's something that is super powerful to learn as a concept artist or as a as an illustrator, right? These are just really important fundamental skills to have. Most notably, I can see this stuff working best for stylized products like mobile games or indie games. I mean, Valorant, right? AAA as well. So would also probably carry over to doing like weapon designs and vehicle designs, because you're building your mind's ability to see the graphic read, the graphic shapes, and the primary forms overpowering the mind's want to create tons and tons and tons of detail. So as you can see, having the shapes separated into their own value group, I'm able to just select them and quickly paint within the shape. So I already know this is going to be I wouldn't say good design, I would just say this is going to be a design that works, because I was able to assess the graphic read really early on. And it's just like, it's a guarantee at that point for me, where I'm like, yeah, it's going to work. Like, sure, I could spend, maybe a little bit more time doing some exploration, but for a YouTube video, this is more of a showcase type setup. So we're not really super worried about what we're actually going to be iterating on this one. It was more just to say, have a look at this mentality behind the process, because there's some very specific things that you can push into your artwork as a designer that you can learn from the graphic design world. And I feel like as an AD, you train your eye to actually see these graphic shapes. It may even just be a moment of that rabbit hole potentially going too deep, where you're seeing things that others can't. And I've definitely seen that in other lead concept artists. I've also seen that in myself at times. But I think there is a beauty behind it. I think there is something to be said about it. And I have looked at a few art directors' portfolios, and I'm noticing a similarity behind these quote-unquote tastes, where the hard-hitting things are normally these very subtle, well-placed punches of contrast, whether that be in value or whether that be in color. You kind of reserve those moments, and I think if there is going to be a takeaway for anyone watching my content, especially this video, because we are getting into the design realm and moving away from like the sketchy illustration stuff, I would say pay very close attention to how deliberate I'm being with the shapes that I choose for the hard-hitting things, because they are a language set that I'm taking and I'm essentially reserving only for those moments. It's like having a bunch of, if we're talking about, like, let's say fine art, and we were going to paint a bowl of fruit, it would be like having a bowl full of oranges and then placing a like a diced orange in the middle, so like a quadrant of an orange being cut up. Because all of the other shapes are rounded, when you place that graphic shape, which will end up becoming like a wedge, we have a rounded edge and then a flat edge, that becomes extremely powerful, because just due to the nature of there not being that shape doesn't exist. It only exists once in the entire image. And it's not to say that you have to go to that extreme, but I think as a designer, we should be taking our influences from that mindset, where we could say, well, safe is round, middle of the ground is straight, and danger is spiky. When you do that, you end up oversimplifying the problem, and the solution that you generate is oftentimes not very appealing, because it's the most generic approach to the problem. It's the most straightforward approach to the problem. Is it wrong? No. Is it the best it could be? In my opinion, no, it's not the best it could be. So what we do with things within design is going to be different person to person. But as I've grown and as I have developed myself over the last 10 years, the more I'm able to play on these theories, the more I'm able to actually place very specific graphic shapes where I want them to be for a very specific reason. And oftentimes my reasoning is less about the design and more about design appeal from a two-dimensional space. Because sometimes a piece of artwork that just looks incredible, when it's designed and modeled and placed in the engine, it can look a little off, and it can be a little off-putting, and it's like, oh, well, that's interesting. And the more you have those moments of understanding how your designs are actually different from the 2D space to the 3D space, the more you can actually push just the 2D space and not worry so much about the 3D, and then vice versa, really worry about the 3D and not worry about the 2D, because they are two different worlds. So with this video today, really all I wanted to show you guys was the graphic break, how to use that, how to art direct your own work, and how to actually use that and take that further. And in the final image, we will be showing, at the end, you'll see these little punches of purple and the shapes that I'm actually choosing. It's quite funny. When you actually break it down, it's very funny, but I want you guys to be observant of these things in design. And when you see an art director's work, you actually notice these things more often if you can become aware of them. Because they're not thinking about the design as the design, they're actually thinking about the composition of each individual shape and how those shapes balance each other out and balance the shapes around it out. And yeah, it's just one of those things where the more aware you are of these design principles, the more you can use them to your advantage. And I will just pull out a few things now that we're heading towards the end. You'll see on the collars of the design, I have these square shapes. On the shoulders, these are triangles. Near the groin, triangles. And these are all the highlight, the purple color. And using these in the composition as a compositional element can be extremely powerful for the design, but it also can just be powerful aesthetically. So guys, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you're aware of your shapes, your shape breakup, and where you can place things compositionally to increase your design appeal. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.